Today I want to show you a couple of tools that will make your life a lot easier if you have to do yard work like cutting limbs or branches. So in the past we had to use clippers like this or maybe hedge clippers like that. Well, now there's a lot better electric alternative, and there's a lot of different tools on the market that will replace both these tools now. So I'm going to show you a couple today, talk about the differences in them, and talk about which one I definitely would not buy anymore. So let's start with a Komok. So the Komok is a pruning tool. I've already done a video on this, by the way, so if you want to see it in action in the field, watch my other video. So if you open the Komok case up, you get the tool, and there it is right there. You also get a couple of batteries, and you get some tools and some oil to oil your blade, and you get a tool to help you change the blade. So the way the Komok works is you put the battery in. On the back, there's an on-off switch. It's a slider. You turn it on. You pull the trigger twice, and the jaws open up. So this has about a 1.5 inch cutting radius. So you pull the trigger, and the jaws close. So here's how it works. I've got a stick here that's roughly as big around as my finger. So you put the stick in. So you just walk up to a tree limb and clip it, and as long as the limb is not over 1.5 inches, this will take it off. Does a great job. This has a feature I really like, which is a finger protection feature. So notice, I could put my finger in there, and it would happily cut my finger off, okay? It's got a feature called finger protection. Let me show you how that works. If you hold the trigger down for about 12 or 15 seconds, it'll go into finger protection mode. So let's see it. So you hold the trigger down, you hear one beat, and then a second beat, and then there should be a long third beat. All right? So now after the long third beat, it still works like normal, but if you touch it, it won't close. So that's called finger protection. All right? The Komok is different from this other tool because the other tool does not have finger protection. I really like that, but I want to point out if your fingers are dirty or have a lot of dirt or grease on them, they may not make proper contact. So if I'm holding my hand on a branch and I go to cut it now, it won't cut because it senses that my hand is on the branch and it's not going to cut. To turn off the finger protection, you hold it down for another 12 to 15 seconds. First beat, second beat, third beat. All right, now if I try and cut it, it'll cut perfect. All right, so I really like the Komok, mainly because it's a very rugged tool. It's industrial quality, and it has great finger protection built in. All right, so to turn it off, you pull the trigger, hold it closed, and you slide the switch off, and then you just remove the battery, and you're ready to put it up. All right, so the Komok's a great tool. So now let's take a look at the other one. So when you buy the Komok, you get a hard shell case. When you buy the Mellif pruner, you get a cardboard box. All right, so in the box, you get a manual, which is mostly just warnings. It really doesn't tell you much. I think in this 6-page manual, there's one paragraph that talks about how to operate it. So in the box, you get the tool. The Mellif does not come with a battery. You also get a little plastic bag with a couple of wrenches, and you get a spare blade. Now, the price difference. So the Komok is about $225, but the Komok comes with 2 good lithium batteries. To buy the batteries by themselves are going to run you about $150 to $170 depending on where you buy them. So for $225, you get 2 batteries, the tool, the case, and some other tools. The big difference is the Mellif was $39.99, and both these were bought on Amazon. So for $39.99, all you get is the tool. You don't get any batteries. And the Mellif does not come with batteries because it's designed to work with batteries that you already used by your other existing tools. So what I've got here is an 18-volt Milwaukee tool battery that came with my drill set. So the Mellif is designed to work with this specific battery. And they also make a version designed to work with a DeWalt battery. So if you put the battery in, push the on-off button, you hear the beeps, pull the trigger twice, the jaws open up, and it's ready to work. All right, so let's see it in action. No problem. Here's a thicker branch. This branch is about as big around as my finger. All right, so it doesn't even hesitate. Either of these tools would happily cut your finger off, so you can't use these tools or leave them unattended around children. That's really dangerous. The Mellif does not have finger protection built in like the Komok does, and that's one of the reasons that I really like the Komok better. So, and you can look, let me put the battery back on, I'll show you the size difference in them. So there's both tools side by side. So the Komok has a wider cutting radius, it's a stronger tool, and overall it's just a much better tool. The big downside of the Mellif, the construction is cheaper, the gears right here are exposed, the metal on the blade is not as thick. Otherwise, it's just not as good a tool. Plus, the fact that it doesn't have finger protection, I really don't like that. So what I'm going to do now is take these both outside and cut some small branches off a tree and show both of them to you in action. Then we'll come back in and talk a little bit more about the differences in the two. Okay, so first I've got the Komok, so I'm going to turn it on, pull the trigger twice, and it's ready to work. So let's cut a couple of branches. All right. It doesn't even hesitate. The Komok's very strong. And notice I can put the branches in the front of the blade or in the back of the blade, and either way it cuts just fine. All right, so now let's cut with the Mellif a little bit. Okay, so now I've got the Mellif tool, so let's activate it. I've already turned it on. Pull the trigger twice. Jaws open up, it's ready to work. So let's cut some limbs. All right, so cuts the small limbs, cuts the thicker limbs, it doesn't even hesitate. Let's cut it down here at the bottom where it's thickest. Yeah, this does a great job. Cut this one here that's really thick. Get that out of the way. Cut this. Try and get down there at the very base. All right, so this does a great job. So the Mellif works great, and the Komok work great, both of them. Let's cut this. This is a whole lot easier than the old way of doing things. So both these tools are great, both do a fantastic job. I don't think the Mellif will cut anything as thick as this. Even though it'll go in the jaws, it says don't cut anything more than about an inch wide. Let's check it out and see what it'll do. Yep, it took 2 cuts, but it did it. So down here we have a thicker branch. I'm going to use the Komok on that. All right, so trim some of these limbs off just to get them out of the way. So down here, this branch is probably 1.25 inches thick. If it's too thick to go in the jaws, then the machine is not supposed to cut it. Let's move up a little bit right there. Nope, didn't cut it. Let's try it again. Nope, let's go on up. Nope. So you can see it may take several cuts sometimes to cut something off, but it will eventually cut through. So anyhow, both these are great tools. Both do a good job. Now let's go back in and talk about which one I would not buy again. Okay, before I talk about which one of these I would not buy again, let me talk a little bit more about the features. So both of these devices, the manufacturer says they can get up to 1,000 cuts. My brother and I have used this one weekend at the farm. I know we did well over 500 or 600 cuts. Had no problem. The battery lasted a long time. So when you buy the Komok, you get 2 batteries, and you also get the plastic case. So the Komok is an excellent quality tool. The Mellif tool does not come with a battery, but it uses the Milwaukee 18-volt battery, which is a top-notch battery. Milwaukee's about the best tools you can buy. And my Milwaukee toolkit came with a charger, so I wanted to point that out. This tool, not only does it not come with a battery, you also don't get a charger. So the manufacturer claims you can get 1,000 cuts with this. That's what's in this little pitiful owner's manual that came with it. I seriously doubt that. If you feel this tool and you hold it in your hand, you can tell it's just not as good a quality, and it doesn't look as good. Look at it. I mean, the construction is not nearly as rugged. Even look at the housing around the trigger. This is a very thin plastic piece. This is a reinforced plastic piece. This clearly is the better tool. There's one big reason that I would not buy the Mellif tool again, and that's because it does not have finger protection. And if you use one of these, you really need to keep them put up where kids cannot get to it, because a child could pick this thing up. It's very simple to turn on. You just push the power button, pull the trigger twice, and the whole idea of pulling the trigger twice is it's supposed to be a safety feature. It's not like you can just turn it on and start pulling the trigger. You have to actually initiate it. But a kid who's over 2 or 3 years old could probably figure that out, even if by accident, and they could easily cut their finger off. I bought this. It was only $39.99. I'm going to keep it, but there's no way that I would buy it again. In fact, my recommendation is to everybody, don't buy this because it's dangerous. The very fact that it could cut your finger off and there's no way to put any sort of finger protection on there is a deal killer for me. Plus, the gears right here are exposed. If you look at the other tool, the Komok, the gears on the side are not exposed. Both these have extremely strong motors. I really don't expect the Mellif to last nearly as long as the Komok. Now let's talk about price for a second. Like I said, when you buy the Mellif, it's only $39.99. But if you had to buy the Mellif with 2 batteries, 2 of these batteries that go with my Milwaukee drill set are about 150 bucks. So if you take the 150, you add 40 in for the tool, you're up to 190. Okay, when you buy the Komok, you get a much better quality tool for like 30 bucks more, plus you get the hard shell case. All right, this tool didn't even come with a bag, so I would have to go and buy something else to store it in. So anyhow, the Mellif is just not in the same quality level as the Komok tool. Also, one more thing. On the side of the Komok, there's an indicator which tells you how much battery life you have left and how many cuts you've done. Now, this tool does not have any sort of indicator. This is really your economy tool. But since it uses the Milwaukee battery, you can push the button on the side of the Milwaukee battery and it'll tell you how much charge it has left. But that doesn't tell you how many cuts you have left. So if I were going to take this out in the field and use it, I would want to make sure that I've got 2 fully charged Milwaukee batteries. Anyhow, that's it. I just wanted to point out a couple of differences between the two. Both these are extremely dangerous. And you want to make sure that you never leave the jaws open, because if for some reason you grab this by the top and your hand is there and somehow it has some circuit failure or whatever and it turns on, it could really rip your hand apart. As I showed earlier, I've got a couple of sticks here, and as I showed on the tree, these sticks, one of these is the thickness of my finger and it does not hesitate, so I'm sure it would take a finger off happily. So the Mellif tool, I'm going to keep it, but would I buy it again? There's no way. It's just dangerous. I think this is probably the most dangerous tool I've ever owned. Anyhow, that's it. Thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.